Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Millionaires are being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site. One-week fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Got a player who's hurt? No problem. Injuries won't derail your shot at victory because it's like a new season every week, so you're never stuck with the same players. Pick your team in minutes, and you could be on your way to winning huge cash. This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000. And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com. You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day just playing fantasy football at DraftKings. Head to DraftKings.com now and use promo code Spreaker to play free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Spreaker now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
1, 2. Check me out right here, yo.
Yo, the sun don't
Thanks
shine
for joining me
forever.
for another edition of the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. I want to thank Biggie for leading me in there. And if you want to call in, the number is 585-633-7487. Tonight, first hour, I am joined by Michelle, owner of SportsXmedia.com, who is a specialist in sports social media. You can find her on Twitter at SportsXMichelle. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for that. That was a great introduction. I'm like, yeah, that's really me. Thank you so much for having me on. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Are you thanking me or are you thanking Notorious B.I.G. for that lead-in?
Oh, no, I don't know. I just think it's, no, everybody. I'm thanking everybody. Like, I don't know. I just think it's like I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, like that's exactly, no, I'm just saying thank you because that was, that's, I have, been on shows before and sometimes I'm kind of like, wait, no. But no, I appreciate that, SportsX Media and sports social media, and that's exactly, I think sometimes I'm kind of like, wow, how did I end up there? So that's all. So, but thank you. It just sounded good. Like, yay.
Well, what is it like being a woman in the sports industry? I mean, I've had a lot of women on my show, talking, whether it's Colorado football, South Carolina football. Do you ever get the sense, like when you tweet out or when you're on shows, do you ever get the sense that you're being talked down to at times?
Well, you know what? Let me answer it this way. I know a lot of women in sports who are probably facing things a lot differently than I do, and they've talked about it. I've seen them talk openly about how they feel that, they may not get. I don't know if it's just sports. I think it could be, in every industry. Sometimes, like Katie Nolan, I know from Fox Sports, has been pretty vocal about, it's not just sports, it's everywhere. But I myself have been treated with a lot of respect. Sometimes, a lot of respect. But then, as I say that, I think back to when I was working with SportsX Radio in Las Vegas, and I think about how I was, getting involved in fantasy sports, and I would say often, I could hear myself say, if I were a guy, I'd be, this wouldn't have happened. So I think that happens. I think it happens in sports. I think sometimes if I were a guy, I might be taken more seriously, or some of my ideas, or just in general in sports. I mean, I'm not in the same shoes as a lot of the women that are, interviewing on the sidelines or those kinds of things. So I can't speak for them, but I think it's mixed. I don't know. A lot of guys respect my knowledge. A lot of guys think I know more than I think I know. So I think it's mixed. I think it's changing, but there's always going to be differences. I think. I don't know. I just think it's just in general that women are different, and it's still a man's world, sometimes, but, then you'll find that a lot of guys do respect you. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but I guess it goes back and forth. My thought on it goes back and forth, I guess.
On Lifetime, women hate men 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How often do real women hate men?
I never hate men, so it's like I'm like that, I don't know if I'm the best person to. I mean, I'm definitely a real woman, and I think like that Jerry Maguire movie, like when she's like, men are the enemy, but I still love the enemy. So I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. I think that when we talk about any group, when we label men or when we label any group, we're making, a big mistake. And I think a lot of times women that do hate men or that say, all men are alike, they say that in front of their sons. And I think that, not to bring a serious note to this, but I think you need to be careful when you're raising someone who's going to become, a man. You have to be careful. I don't think hating men is ever a good thing, and we certainly don't like misogynistic, views or the way that would go down. So I can't answer the question. I can tell you that I never hate men. I might not like some of the things, that are typical of guys, which I'm sure they don't like some of the things that are typical of girls. And I'm going to say I like that there are differences. I know a lot of people are talking about equality, and I think it's great to treat people with mutual respect. I also think it's good to respect differences. So I'm fine with men. I don't know. They're not perfect. Neither are we.
Well, that's a big weight off my shoulders. But as far as, looking at the way Roger Goodell has handled the Ray Rice situation, the Hardy situation in Carolina, and then even the child abuse thing with Adrian Peterson. How do you've been very outspoken on Twitter about your views of Roger Goodell. Do you think he's starting to get it? Do you think he ever will get it? And do you think this will cost him his job, just the way he's, kind of nonchalantly and kind of ignorantly handled all these situations?
Okay, I have, you're right, I've been very outspoken. I have followed, the concussion, before domestic violence was the big thing and the concussion lawsuit. I feel that the NFL needs to be very mindful of how brain trauma could be a possible variable with some of these domestic violence issues, like Junior Seau, for example, was arrested, I'm pretty sure, arrested for domestic violence, and, Javon Belcher. So I've been very outspoken way before, a lot of other people have been. And in answer to your question, no, I don't think it will cost him his job, nor did I ever think it should have cost him his job. I actually, am in the minority because that day with the press conference, I thought he did an outstanding job until people started to continually, ask him the same question over and over. He admitted that he did not handle the Ray Rice situation well. I think he was faced with a difficult situation. The criminal justice system handed, PTI, which I'm very familiar with. So I think that overall he was definitely lax, and that I don't understand. The teams have something to do. The league has something to do. I do think he got it. I think he more than got it. I think he's committed resources. I think he's doing an outstanding job of taking a negative, turning it into something, if there can be any positive. I think that he has laid out a policy yesterday, all of them collectively. So I don't know him personally. I wish I did. I do think that he gets it, and I think he knows that he he did not understand. It's like, you know, he didn't get it. No, he didn't get it, and he messed it up. And yeah, should he have? You know, should he have known more about it? Maybe. You know, maybe he definitely should have known more about it, but is that his only role in the role of the commissioner? You know, I don't think he's just the role of the domestic violence. You know, there's a whole big job there, and he messed this up, and now he's fixing this. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the league can do, and I think it's a mistake to take him, you know, to remove him if he's doing so many other things well. And I think we need to, you know, just, I don't know. Well, I'm willing to see where he takes this, and I think he's committing a lot of resources. So I'm not bailing on the NFL. Or I think he's, you know, look at the news. It's no longer as harsh. At least the media is not as harsh, and I think some people are willing to say maybe it's a little bit more complicated than we may have realized. Doesn't change that he definitely screwed the Ray Rice. You know, he definitely messed that up. The Greg Hardy situation is I don't know if it was. I don't know. I'd like to know your thoughts, like on the whole, you know, thing. Like, I don't know. It's such a difficult animal. Like,
well, I don't think with the Ray Rice thing, he didn't handle it correctly, but the reason I think he didn't handle it correctly is, you know, maybe he didn't take it as seriously because when he initially, you know, if he initially talked to Ray Rice, did see the entire video, and, you know, talked to Janae, and Janae didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, she's still coming out saying that it's not that big of a deal. Okay, maybe she's a victim of domestic abuse and she's scared or something to come out and say anything, but maybe he didn't take it as seriously because she didn't take it as seriously, and that's why he only levied the 2-game suspension at the time. And Bob, that though right there, like, not to interrupt, that both of those things. That one, the fact that she doesn't take it, she could have died. I mean, it's serious. Domestic violence is serious, and you know, so I don't know if she's. I think sometimes we don't realize that in certain families that this is not as taboo as we as a society might like to believe. You know, like in some families, they think this is okay. And, you know, that's where if she may be saying, like, you know, I don't think it's as big a deal, it could be because a lot of people she knows, this is a normal thing. I think that they may change their minds, you know, as far as how to handle different disagreements. But it could just be that this was part of what was accepted behavior in their world. You know what I mean? Like, some people actually think that it's okay. You know, I don't, but some people do. Well, and it's like the Adrian Peterson thing. There's a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people from the South who are like, well, that's just how we grew up. This is okay. I mean, how are we supposed to tell a man how to raise his children? It's like, okay, that's fair. Maybe you did grow up, but it is 2014. You can't.
Right.
I mean, there's cameras now. I mean, everybody has a camera now that can, you know, load something up to the internet. You don't. Back then, I mean, there wasn't visual evidence. How are we supposed to know that what they were growing up at, you know, at Charles Barkley was just as bad as what Adrian Peterson's son had on his legs? How are we supposed to know that? There's no photographs of it. We can take him for his word, but, you know, all these people coming out and saying, well, that's just how I grew up. Well, things are a lot different now. I mean, like, you know, coaching Little League and high school, you can't swear anymore. And, you know, in the 90s, 80s, 70s, you could swear all you want. You could call a kid any name in the book and you wouldn't get in trouble.
Right.
And things have changed. And I don't think people, like, especially in the South, realize that things have changed. And they still don't realize that they lost the Civil War either.
I